It's really great to be able to share like this with you. And we did this last year, around about this time. And I think it's an important time of the year to be able to share what has happened in our lives and how that has impacted our faith journey.
Like really, it has been quite a roller coaster. It has been a faith story. You don't know what's around the next corner. We really have just leapt out. And we are ready to allow the Lord to use us wherever He can. And there have been highlights, there have been lowlights, there have been difficult things that we've had to struggle with.
Yeah.
But in it all, there's been so much encouragement because people can relate to it. And we all have to go through that journey in our faith and just be prepared to just say, Lord, just teach us, just mold us, just allow our vulnerability to help us connect with you first and then with others.
And you know what, Jess, like all of that, it sounds good. And I know that you're saying that and it sounds like, no, that's what we're doing.
Sure.
But none of that is easy.
No.
And I think that has also just been sort of like the empathy where we understand.
Yeah.
Like it's the unknowns and it's now being able to say, okay, Lord, I'm still going to surrender.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but it's like we keep fooling ourselves to think, but I did surrender.
Yeah.
You understand?
It's a constant reminder, and the Lord knows that. And I think that's why it's that one-on-one relationship with the Lord, because it is every time you come to Him, it's that reminder of He's in control. Lord, I surrender again.
Yeah.
And sometimes we go the long way around, and He just looks at us and He's patient and He waits.
Yeah, His patience is one of His greatest characteristics, thankfully. But it's not just
keep renewing.
It's not just the going around the corner and it's something new. I think that has also been the lesson, is that there have been many things. Oh, this is the same.
Oh, always, it comes back to that same thing.
It's the
Our
same
will
thing
versus His.
that I thought I had surrendered.
Yeah.
That I'm having to surrender again.
Yeah.
Which is perfect, and that's probably why a lot of our faith story content has focused on trust and surrender.
Well, that was the heart that we shared the last time we did this conversation at the end of 2023, and I think going into 2024, it really was very unknown for us. We still didn't know. We had said, okay, we're going to record this weekly message. We're going to have the emails with reflections. We're going to try and just keep pointing people back to that one-on-one relationship and then focus the content on character and vulnerability and dealing with the real core inner faith issues that we all have, but that we are just sometimes so distracted with other things around us. We ignore them. And that was our filter. Like whatever our content is going to be, we wanted it to be based on surrender, on following the Lord's will in every single area. And then the next...
That was the filter that we knew about.
Yeah.
But then the next filter that sort of came as we started creating the content.
Well, it's easy to create content, especially because of coming from ministry. You can easily, okay, what Bible verse could we speak about this week? Or, what's a current topic at the moment that we can speak about? But because this needed to be about surrender, and it needed to be about the individual, and it needed to be about the personal journey, we were like, every time we came back to the content, sometimes we would talk about content, but it was like distant from what we were going through. And that people could hear that message, but how is it going to be the most real and the most authentic?
Yeah.
And
it needed to connect with us.
And that's what would happen is if we connect with this, and this is what we've struggled with, even just this week, sometimes there were things we were going through in that week, and we would say, we need to share this content because it's real, it's personal, it's raw. Let's share it. People will connect with it.
To the point that then became one of our filters.
That was one of the filters. If
has it connected with us?
If it's authentic to us, it's going to connect some way. And you know what? Even if it only connects with just a few people, it's okay.
And I think
it remains.
That's been
authentic.
One of the beautiful things about this year in particular is when you start something like this, you're not sure what the audience is, what that's going to look like, who it is that you're focusing it on.
New skills and
then to be able to just really pull back and say, okay, Lord, we're going to do it for this purpose. These are going to be our filters, and you do with it whatever you need to do. Whoever this is going to reach, let it reach, because you don't get that constant feedback like in face-to-face ministry.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Very much. And I think that was where a lot of the growth points happened.
Yeah. Personally in
our journey, because obviously,
individually,
we had this on our heart, and we still do. It's that conviction. And when you bump into people and we start talking about it, I still feel my eyes light up. I can feel the energy within myself of, and this is what I'm really excited about.
That's not once, twice.
No.
That is every single time we have an opportunity with somebody new and they ask, because I mean, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
What do you do? Or, why are you here? Or what are you doing? Yeah. And then you start sharing, and then it just opens
I think
doors.
it's like, because you see the interest in their eyes.
It's the response.
The response. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wow, this makes sense.
You feed off that.
Very, very much. So not to, there were times where we had doubt and we were unsure. And you feel alone, you feel isolated.
That's what a faith journey is.
Absolutely.
It has to include the doubts.
But I think it's really important that we make it clear that it's a roller coaster. It's like up and down. And also, you going through different emotions or different feelings or something that you're struggling with the Lord. Stage. You're wrestling with the Lord on certain things, and then I'm going through different things. Yeah. So it really is, it's been an amazing part of the journey.
So let's just say this faith journey would not be what it is without you. And I know you're going to say the same about me, but it's like, it's so like, it could not be what it is. It's been very
intertwined, obviously, also because we've brought other people along on the journey with us.
Yes.
So there is still a strong sense of responsibility, even though we are wanting to provide tools for others to walk the journey on their own. Mm-hmm. But you still do feel a sense of responsibility in pointing others to the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's
the privilege and the responsibility. They go hand in hand.
And what I did want to mention is, with Faith Story being a digital ministry, something that points you to a relationship with the Lord, it's still in its very simple and early form and stage. But the thing we weren't expecting was the way Faith Story became very tangible in the people we were meeting, the conversations we were having, some of the feedback that we were getting. Sometimes you would have online meets with people, one-on-ones, and they've said, Warren, I listened to these 3 messages. This is what I've taken from it. This is what I've applied. It's made a difference. I'm rethinking this. I'm rethinking my relationship with my family. And Faith Story it's not just a digital tool. It's not just an email. It's not just a YouTube message. It actually, we weren't expecting it to become real people's stories. And we're getting to rub shoulders every day.
You know what, Jess? I think the key there is it's built on our real stories.
Exactly.
And that's why it translates. Yeah. And other people also then have tangible things.
And I think that's what the Lord has shown us over this year, that the core conviction of people connect more to vulnerability than they do to people's strengths. People
but it's still not easy to open yourself up, to be vulnerable. That is still it's a difficult door to go through.
It's and again, has to be authentic.
Yes.
So I think to look at some of the growth points for you maybe this year, just
look, for me, the beginning of the year was tough, and it was just a feeling of, this is weird to say, but to feel lost. It's not lost in my relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
It's lost personally. It's all of my other things that I was so used to, my structures, my routines, my rhythms, like my basic little habits and things were all just gone. It was a complete reset from that perspective, which I thought was fine because it was the season that we were in. But then you start realizing, I thought it would just return naturally, and it didn't.
It took a while to settle.
And I think that was part of the theme for me for the year was the Lord's provision, and primarily in relationship. So how the Lord, and that's why I say, obviously it goes without saying, that the primary relationship is the walk with you and Faith Story, but then to have other friends, like really close friends. So I had 2 close friends that initiated sort of like a weekly mastermind where we would meet and it would be for an hour, and we had specific things that we would do, and the value of that at the time that I needed it. And then a little bit later, we had another opportunity where, when I say a faith journey has to include doubts, like
definitely,
but you don't expect that.
No,
you're saying no, it's a faith journey. So it's like we're going to be like, no, we're on fire, we're strong for the Lord. We don't doubt anything. It's like, oh man, it goes through those valleys. And here's the part that caught us really by surprise: is sometimes doubts come in the form of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we were presented with an opportunity of taking on a position in an established ministry And it seemed to be like a really great opportunity. Thankfully,
and an answer to our prayer initially. We were like, maybe this is the answer that the Lord is, the clarity we've been seeking.
And it's then still to use those same filters and to be willing to wait and to say, okay, Lord, so
not going to just jump into this.
Faith, family, ministry, and wait and stand by our convictions and beautiful opportunity. But ultimately, it then led to, no,
this is not it's not what we excited and passionate about.
No.
And it was like, even though it answers all of these things,
yes,
we would have to be letting
security.
go.
It brings all of the other practical things.
We would be having to let go this thing that we're so excited about. And
but the
Lord, almost like that was the Lord going laser focus on Faith Story. Keep going, keep pushing.
What do you call that? What do you call that? It's like there was like energy. There was
fuel.
Yeah. There was fuel for Faith Story.
Yeah.
So in that moment, and you're always emotionally ahead of me. So we'll just admit that.
It's a girl and a boy thing.
Yeah, we'll admit that publicly on record. Yeah. So emotionally, that fuel hit you like poof, okay?
Yeah.
And then I was lagging a bit of still trying to understand and obviously dealing with my own things.
Yeah.
And how the Lord then used again a new, because the other two were old close friends, a new close friend who just said the right thing at the right time and was of the Lord. And how he encouraged me and he said, Warren, before I could explain anything to him, he said, sorry, Warren, I'm interrupting you, but I just want to tell you, I don't know what prompted him, it can only be the Lord, and how he said, I just want you to know what you're doing with Faith Story. I really believe you must persevere with this.
Yeah.
You have just not
keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep doing. You have not seen the potential. You haven't fulfilled what the Lord wants. And I was like, wow.
That affirmation that you needed at that time.
And it's that provision
from the Lord
through relationships and how the Lord just used people to encourage like that.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful to see this year.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest growth point for me was last year. I was really struggling with all of the changes. And I just found myself in a place of discontentment, fear, all of the things that are in your head, that struggle, the wrestle. And it was almost like when January came round, I just had this overwhelming sense of peace of like, Lord, I'm literally placing myself like in your hands, just literally move me, take me, show me. And it was this contentment in the unknown, which last year and the years leading up to us starting Faith Story, I was fighting. I was trying to control. I wanted the plan. I wanted to know.
I'll be content if I know.
Yes. I'll be happy when.
Yes.
And this was just like this. And I'm so grateful that the Lord allowed that, because for the first time that, a childlike faith, it made sense, because there were times where I shouldn't be at peace.
It doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. And I experienced that for the first time in my faith walk this year, which was a massive highlight. Jus,
I said this to you, but maybe good for me to just say it again. I witnessed that, firsthand. But not to say this in a weird way, but it was like I doubted it a little bit in the beginning, but the way that you just stuck to it, like the depth of that just came through. There were moments, because I know you. Yeah. I know when you're going to worry about something. Yeah. And there were moments, and it's almost like you have to experience those moments of opportunity to exercise your absolute surrender, where you're like, here's the moment. I know in this situation it would be very difficult, and you were just like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Man, it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, the Lord's, He's got this, and there's a reason.
Really beautiful to see.
So also, obviously, the reward of seeing others around us respond to Faith Story was amazing, but also the quality and not just quantity. So with it being a digital ministry, obviously you easily want to measure in views, and you want to measure in interest, and you want to measure in feedback and all of those things. And it's almost like we knew before we even launched something digitally, we said we don't want to measure based on views or based on like the interest.
We don't want to pursue clickbait.
Absolutely not. So being digital, it would be very easy to just have some controversial topics, some really current events, and make sure that people are being drawn to your channel through this style of marketing. And we said that's not what Faith Story is about at all. Faith Story is a very, very laser focused I don't want to say product, but it really is. It's a tool to draw you to that one-on-one relationship. And if that's not authentic and it's not real and it's being forced, then the work that needs to be done is not going to be effective.
I don't know if it's my preacher's brain. So
that's fine.
Controversy or clickbait.
Yes.
Or character. And that's really just what we wanted to focus on.
There we go, the 3 C's. Yeah. Focus rather on the character and say, if there are 20 people watching and 20 people applying and 20 people sharing and 20 people walking in their homes with their families,
growing in their character,
where their characters
relationship
being
with
built,
the Lord.
like that is, and again, where a year would sound, what are we going to accomplish in a year?
I was just about to say.
That like a year would sound.
What is a year in character work?
Sure.
What is that? It's nothing.
So little, especially because till our last breath, we'll be developing character.
That's
It's a never-ending journey.
The work the Lord has started, He will complete.
And I would say that was the point that got me there. Is that was another realization within this contentment was Lord's timeline, not mine.
Yeah.
And it was, you know what? Okay, if I have to give the next 5 to 10 years of my life to see where the Lord takes this and how He's going to use this,
approach things, Jus.
Definitely not. So that was really, really.
And that takes a lot of letting go and a lot of trust. But you know what else it does? And that's, I think, the beauty. It's almost like an unintended consequence of the filters that we've been using.
Yes.
When we say our filter is family above our occupation, then it's okay, but the occupation stuff's going to take long. Yeah. What is right in front of you right now that does not take long?
And that's not going to be there.
And it's not going to be there in 5 years.
Exactly.
And how scary is that? Is our children are growing up right in front of our eyes. Yeah. So our little girl, our eldest, is no longer a little girl. She's a young lady now. Yeah. And you sort of like, that happened really quickly. Yeah. And if we were so focused on all the other things, my love, we would be missing that completely. Yeah. And that's what we want to really thank the Lord for, is being able to see that and to do something about, not just see it, but to actually do something, which in a lot of instances is saying no.
So much. And I think that's why we also wanted to document this, obviously just to give you a little bit of more background to the personal journey, but also just to encourage you to say, you know, maybe there are some things you want to be intentional about and you're not sure. What are the filters that you can use? What are the things that the Lord wants you to see that are His perspective, His plan, that is just sometimes not clear to us? We do get distracted. So those filters were very much that organogram of your faith first above all else. And that filters into every single aspect of your life. It's not just one little compartment. It's your faith first, and then your marriage if you are married, or your family relationships, and then your children, and then what can I give to others, and obviously your hobbies and all the other things that take up your time, but to use that as your filter. And that is what we did this year. And to say, like, our calling is so much higher than just ministry and what's on our immediate heart and our convictions. Our calling is parenthood right now. In this season,
and
marriage. To strengthen our marriage and to be parents, because like you say, it's just for a season. In 10 years from now, that season's over, and you get to walk in the next part of the journey.
And just so again, I think that is part of what we're really excited about for the year ahead, is to look at those specific aspects of relationships in marriage and parenting and those kinds of things, to add additional content for Faith Story. But it's also to be thankful to the Lord for the work that we have seen Him do in our marriage.
Sure.
And to say, I mean, we've been married 19 years in a couple of months' time. Yeah. And it's like the person that I married and the person that you are now, the work that you've done, it's an adventure, because it's discovering with you.
So much so.
And you the same with me.
Yeah, you learning things about yourself. If you never knew them about you, I definitely didn't know them about you.
And then you got to learn them secondhand then. But,
and vice versa.
And then it's the what we have had to learn with each other. And this year has been phenomenal in that regard.
So much.
When I say phenomenal, it's all things require work.
And again, it's like the Lord's preparing us, because obviously it's on our heart to be able to help people in their relationships and help people in their marriages and help. But again, if it's not something we can draw on authentically,
it's our filter.
It's our fault. And it's like the Lord said, okay, this year, you know, I'm going to help you in this part of your faith journey, but then there's the next layer of your relationship. I'm going to test certain things. I'm going to let you learn these things about yourself and others, because then ultimately we get to share that, and we get to really do it from a place of this is real to us, so it's going to be real to you.
Because we have all the answers.
No.
It's to share, to say, this is where we struggle.
Yes.
So now, how do we find the answers together? Because that's what we're interested in. We're not interested in the answers. We're interested in the tools and the process in discovering, because other people's answers are going to be different.
Totally. Everybody's...
You're not going to face the exact same struggles that we face.
Not at all. Not at all. So that's really, really exciting. And obviously, the next part, besides just the filter, was the fruits. Like we measure in fruits. And we did speak about that in our first conversation that we had last year. But to measure, are the fruits bearing in those areas that you are highlighting? Because if you say that this is your filter, but there's no fruit bearing in your faith, and there's no fruit bearing in your marriage, and there's no fruit bearing in your children, and it's only bearing in other areas, then maybe you need to relook at the time that's been spent and the energy.
So just, and again, please, it's human. Okay, so we are experts at saying and not doing.
Absolutely.
And we're all part of that.
Yeah.
So I know it's tough because it's sort of like, well, that's hypocritical. Yeah. I'm like,
that was I mean, we were being extremely intentional with that filter, and we still found ourselves going, why are we doing this?
You don't get it right every single time. And that's okay. It's normal. But it's good to be intentional about it and to highlight when you're not getting it right. Just be real about it. Like, okay, no, we've got to make some adjustments.
And again, because we're walking that journey so closely, it's almost that accountability to each other, where I could say, why am I doing this? And you would give me input, and you would be like, that's going a little bit left field. Like maybe just say no. and that's another lesson that we've just learned about, like, if we say no to this, it allows for this. If we say yes to this, we're going to miss out on this. So we really use that as a filter. No.
So again, we mustn't fool ourselves. Those are never easy.
Especially because a lot of the time, some of it is really what you want to do. Like it's something I want. It can be a self-centered thing as well. But when you are walking that journey closely with the Lord, it's like He makes it clear very quickly. And you always speak about that gap of how long does it take you to surrender? How long does it take you to be obedient? Because that's the call.
So that surrender and that obedience and the my will, your will be done, to me, that's the essence of Faith Story.
Absolutely.
It
will always be.
Not our ministry called Faith Story. I'm talking, it's the essence of faith.
That's it.
That is what the relationship with the Lord is like. And so it's beautiful in the challenges that we've had through this year and the opportunities, remembering that equally they both hold difficulties. It's been beautiful to see how the Lord has used those to strengthen, to laser focus, to hone, to cut away, and to say, okay, where does your heart lie? What is it that you want to give your life for? And it keeps coming back to that same thing, so that others will have what we have, our relationship with the Lord. It's just like, that's just what it is. That's the most important, whatever it takes. How do we get that across?
And just the value of people, like that the Lord placed all of His energy, and just His word shows us that people were just so precious to Him.
Well, that's Christmas. That's the essence of Christmas.
Exactly, and it's like if ministry is just filtered through not people and their problems and all of those things, just the heart of a person, no matter where they're at. Like they might be 25 steps behind us in their faith journey, or they might be ahead. But how do we encourage? How do we lift each other up? How do we, if they are ahead, like learn and allow people to mentor you and to encourage you. And again, they will always need that encouragement as well. And that's just community. That's what community is.
Never underestimate the power and necessity of encouragement. So important.
So I think 2025 it's been, I would say, a really beautiful year. Like
2024.
Oh my goodness, I'm looking at my thoughts about looking forward. 2024 has been a really, really beautiful year. But it's again been a roller coaster. And it's holding the two together, like you always say. Like, it's okay that there were really trying times.
Yeah.
It's okay that there were difficulties and there was doubt. And it's almost like you almost start to welcome those and you go, okay, Lord, there's obviously something I'm needing to learn. You're preparing us for something, whether it's for 2025, whether it's for 3-4 years from now. You are paving something that we need to just trust you.
Work.
That's it. You're doing that great work.
So, my love, 2025 is going to be the same.
Yes, no, exactly the same. No, I expect nothing less. Yeah.
Great growth, and growth comes through.
And we just pray that the authenticity of your faith story can really shine in 2025. That we are going to, with our content, we are going to try to encourage that really practical side of your relationships, the filters, what you're doing, what your inputs are, and we just hope that we can keep journeying together. Obviously, the hope for Faith Story is that we can try and form some kind of connect groups so that people can also fellowship around the content.
I think that's been beautiful this year as well.
Yes.
Is the fellowship that we have experienced.
Yes, we have.
In the one-on-one conversations and in the community that we have found, and it's been really beautiful.
And that's where the sharing aspect comes in with Faith Story. The minute you start to share, you can follow up with someone and you can, was that valuable to you? Like, did you connect with that? This is how it affected me. And you can start to be a bit vulnerable. And it's amazing when you just share that little bit of your journey with others, how there's just a beautiful response.
Always.
So that's what we really want to encourage with those that are journeying with us. And obviously, like you touched on, for us to focus a little bit, some added content on marriage specifically, that we can share just a little bit of our journey. And hope that others can connect with each other, connect with the Lord.
And you know what it is, love? It's, even if all it does is it shines a light on how important that relationship is.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Then that's it.
It just highlights your filters.
That's
spotlights on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fruit.
And how do we do that? Not by saying, but by doing. So if we're saying it's an important relationship, so what are you doing about it?
Not just words.
That's it, always.
So we're going
to
use this little bit of time. We've taken a little bit of a break with our families.
Yes. Again, don't just say, do.
Yes, we obviously living in Plet. It's a really busy little town. Part of our journey is that we have to vacate our home for the month of December. So that creates a really beautiful time because we get to spend it with our very dear friends, close friends, and our families.
Our very dear close family.
Yes, our very dear close family. And so that's what we're doing now at this time. And again, just get to share that with them, those conversations, around the dinner table and in the morning when you wake up with a cup of coffee. Yeah, that to me is just the most beautiful fellowship, and just also just bucket filling. It fills your soul and gets you ready for the new year. So
and important to make time of rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very important.
Yeah, following on from our message.
So maybe just an encouragement from us then as we wrap up to say this has been so refreshing for us, where we have intentionally gone and looked at the year that has passed and not looked and said, okay, well, what has been the things we haven't accomplished? What are we this is still outstanding. But really looking at how the Lord has had his hand in so many beautiful ways. And I think every single one, love, it's in ways we weren't expecting.
So much.
That has been the Lord's work.
Where we wanted to measure these things.
Yeah.
If I looked at those things, I would say, this wasn't a very successful year.
Yeah.
But when I change the measure, it's wow.
And I think that really is just the encouragement, is to take some time and to have the discussions. So with your loved ones, with family, with friends, and to be intentional and say, so what were the parts where I really saw the Lord's hand at work? Where were the parts that I struggled? What were the biggest growth points for me? And how can I see that growth, the gain that we have experienced? And in the most important areas, go and look for it there, which is really, really beautiful.
And again, a lot of the time that will be the relational side. And we measure differently, but if you can measure it through the relational side, and even not just your immediate family, just the conversations that you've had with a colleague at work, where you've lifted someone up, where you've spoken about the Lord, like for us to be able to measure our year in those moments, like you will, when you're intentional about reflecting, on those. I hope that encourages you, because I'm sure that there have
you know
been
what
some
I think it
moments.
is, love? I think it's the character that is linked to relationship. I think that's why.
Yeah.
Because that's where it plays out.
Yeah.
So
and also the core of what energizes us is community and love and people.
Yeah.
Like, that is just how the Lord designed us.
Yeah, which is really deep. So thank you for being on this journey with us, and thank you for this year that has passed, and for your encouragement, for your support. Like, it's difficult to put into words.
That part is just the really humbling part. That we've been able to do this, and that there have been people that have loved us, encouraged us, supported this little ministry. They've seen our hearts, even when it hasn't been a pretty part, and they've connected with it, and you've connected with it, and it's an absolute privilege. Like, we often just sit and we, like, when we get to discuss content and we're bouncing things back and forth, and we just like this is such a privilege. It's such a privilege, and I mean, it's only just the start of a journey. Wherever the Lord takes it, like, we just hope that it helps people along the way. So thank you so much.
Incredibly grateful, super blessed, and really excited about what lies ahead. To be able to see how the Lord continues His work, and may you and your families just have a really blessed time now in the holidays and into the new year, and look forward to seeing how the Lord uses all of us, and how we get to grow together, and possibly setting those goals for 2025. Maybe to think about the different measures and the different filters, and it might be a completely different list that you're setting to previous years. So hopefully that is an encouragement. So may the Lord continue to use you in these holiday times and all the conversations, and continue to use you to encourage those around you. And thank you for being an encouragement to us. Thank you so much. Sending so much love. God bless.